in a wide variety of services and under a wide range of weather and sea conditions. The pilot starts the rotor, which then accelerates quickly to full power. The radio telephone is switched on, a brief check made to see that the crew are on intercom, call to the airfield control tower for permission to take off, and within 5 to 6 minutes from receipt of the emergency message from the rescue center, the helicopter is on its way. Meanwhile, aboard the lifeboat, the injured man in a sectional stretcher is carried aft. This stretcher fits closely around his body and has rope handholds, so that the casualty can be moved more easily than on a flat stretcher. The stretcher is lifted onto the roof of the small after cabin, as it is from this position that it will be winched up into the helicopter. When the helicopter is seen approaching in the distance, the coxswain steadies the lifeboat on course, and the second mechanic makes positive radio contact by VHF radio, asking the pilot for instructions. The helicopter makes positive contact with the lifeboat, and the pilot uses a special throat microphone to tell the lifeboat his intention. Information on the speed and direction of the wind and the state of the sea may be exchanged, for both lifeboat and helicopter must know what the other is going to do. The pilot will normally advise the coxswain which course to steer, directly into the wind or with the wind slightly on the port bow. The lifeboat lowers mast and aerials to enable the helicopter to hover above with greater safety and to minimize the risk of entanglement with the winch wire. The helicopter cruises within a short distance, noting the preparations, yet it must be handled carefully to avoid damage to the fixings, to the lights, or to the wireless aerials. The mizzen mast is lowered also. When all is ready, the helicopter may circle round, or it may allow the lifeboat to draw ahead. Then it can make the approach run from astern. The coxswain sets a course requested by the helicopter pilot, and the lifeboat steadies on her course. Both lifeboat and helicopter are now working as a team. The helicopter approaches steadily from astern. The winch operator stands ready by the wire. The winchman prepares to descend, and the lifeboat crew take up their positions to make contact. This operation requires skill, steady nerves, and fine judgment, and as winchman and stretcher are guided down and released, there is no margin for error. The helicopter banks quickly away on the port side, drawing up the winch wire. It then stays close by until all is ready to pick up the winchman and the injured seaman. The lifeboat crew and the winchman quickly unstrap the injured man from the lifeboat stretcher and transfer him to the helicopter stretcher, which has a sling. The coxswain selects a course to keep the lifeboat as steady as possible and to avoid rough water and to minimize pitching and rolling. The helicopter may have to wait for 10 to 15 minutes, for the injured man must be carefully handled on a moving boat, and the cabin roof gives little room for movement. And while the helicopter flies round, the airman exchanging a wave with passing ships, yet always keeping a close watch on the position and course of the lifeboat, the casualty is being carefully strapped into the aerial stretcher and placed ready for winching up. When stretcher and sling and the winchman are in position, the lifeboat calls in the helicopter for the liftoff. The winchman signals ready from the cabin roof as the helicopter passes over the lifeboat. And then a wide sweeping turn brings the helicopter into a position to come up astern of the lifeboat once more. Both lifeboat and helicopter steady on their course, the helicopter turning slightly sideways on to the lifeboat. The winch operator passes ranges and heights to the pilot as the helicopter closes the gap, and then chooses the right moment to begin lowering the wire so that the hook will have descended to the level of the men on the cabin roof as the helicopter reaches and hovers above the lifeboat's stern. Again, there is no margin for error. The pilot must maintain an exact position above the lifeboat. The correct length of wire must descend in the right place at the right time. And the lifeboat must not deviate from her course or speed. And all the skill of the coxswain mechanics is needed to achieve this, no matter what the state of the sea. The double hook-on of the winchman and stretcher takes only a few seconds, and then both are lifted clear and drawn upwards as the helicopter climbs slowly away to port, and the lift-off has been successful. A few seconds more, and the injured man is drawn up and into the cabin of the helicopter. A final radio-telephone exchange from the pilot to the lifeboat, and the helicopter flies away with the casualty to the nearest large hospital. With the departure of the helicopter, the lifeboat must again contact the Coast Guard and pass on details of the service, and although this required skill and was not without some risk, the report must be neither exaggerated nor dramatic. Coast Guard in turn informs the rescue center that the airlift has been completed. In a series of phone calls, the hospital is alerted while the casualty is being flown in. The hospital then arranges for an ambulance to meet the helicopter on landing on a pre-selected site near the hospital. The police clear the touchdown area as required. And so the injured seaman has been speedily brought in and spared a long journey by sea and by land. Those who engage in any form of sea rescue work gain their reward in the knowledge that when help was needed, they were able to give it, as lifeboats from this and the other 150 lifeboat stations round the coast have done for over 150 years. The lifeboat crews with the launchers ashore and the honorary station officials form a highly efficient team. They're all volunteers, and the records show that some 85,000 lives have so far been saved by this unique voluntary organization. And the present and potential value of the helicopter has been proved beyond doubt during the past few years. Both the RAF and the Royal Navy have given ungrudgingly of men and machines to answer calls for help in all weathers and from all parts of the country and the seas around. And already in the few years of their operational existence, the number of lives saved by helicopters runs into 4 figures, and calls on their services are always increasing, so that they too, like the lifeboats, must be ready at all times. And so today, with the development of air-sea rescue cooperation, There are many services in which lifeboats and helicopters can work together, but techniques and boat and plane design are improving all the time. So sea rescue work will become even more extensive and efficient, and cooperation between the air and sea rescue services even closer.